So first of all, with Charlotte's hair, we're going to start on the colour. You excited about that? Good, good. Charlotte's hair is really, really dark, so you've got to be a little bit choosy about what colours you can and can't use. The thing to always remember is the depth of something will always override the tone of it. And what I mean by that is the darker the hair is, the less colour you are likely to see from the colour you choose. So what we're going to actually do on Charlotte's hair is choose a really, really bright red colour. But I'm not going to expect it to go bright red at all because of the depth of her hair. So always remember that. The depth of the hair will always override the colour that you choose, okay? So what we're also going to do is just colour this top section here. And this is dead easy to do. You're literally just taking a section just below the hair, just after the hairline, should I say, and just down towards the ear and underneath the crown at the back. And then we're just literally going to colour all of that top section. It's a very, very simple technique, and all it means is once we've done the hair and blow dried it all, you'll get different flashes of the red coming through. You'll get a lovely kind of punchy red on top and a lovely dark, rich, shiny colour that we've got anyway underneath. It's dead simple, but it makes it look really, really good afterwards. What we're actually going to use colour-wise on our hair is a long-lasting, semi-permanent colour. Now let me take you through the different types of colour you've got. First of all, you can get temporary colour. Now, temporary colour is something that normally lasts about one shampoo. It normally comes as a shampoo or a setting lotion or a mousse, and it creates very subtle differences in hair colour. It's normally better used on things like lighter shades or blonder hair, but you can get different colours that can work on darker hair, but expect a very subtle result from temporary colour. Next up, you have semi-permanent colour. Now, semi-permanent colour is just a simple bottle of colour that you put on the hair. You leave it on for about 20 to 30 minutes, and it lasts about 6 to 8 shampoos. It's very good at blending subtle bits of white hair, but it's no chemicals whatsoever in that product. So there's nothing in there that will remotely damage the hair whatsoever in true semi-permanent colours. What we're using here, as I said, is a long-lasting semi-permanent colour. Now, a long-lasting semi-permanent colour does come with a developer, so you mix a developer of peroxide together with a colourant. Now, the level of peroxide in a long-lasting semi-permanent colour is so small that it will not have any weird effects on the hair at all. It won't make the hair in bad condition as long as the hair is in good condition when you start. You understand? And we are in great condition here, so we've nothing to worry about. Now, as you can see, I've gowned her up, put a nice towel around her, covered her up so she's nice and safe, and I would recommend that you probably cover up yourself if you're going to colour your hair at home. I'm sure we've all been there before. Okay, and next up what I also want to do is just put on a pair of gloves. And what you will find with temporary colours and long-lasting semi-permanent colours is the colour molecule in there is a staining molecule. So if you do get it on your hands, it's likely to stain. And if you do get it on the skin, it's likely to stain as well. So you can just protect the skin slightly there with a bit of Vaseline or some kind of barrier cream or moisturiser. Or the trick is obviously just not to apply it to the skin. Easy, isn't it? So we're just going to start applying this colour. Should be fairly straightforward. And we'll just start sectioning it at the front and then just gradually working the colour back. Now, it doesn't need to be applied desperately neat. I mean, the trick is not to get too much of it on the scalp and obviously not to get too much of it on the skin. We've got a little applicator flask here and we'll just literally plonk that on and then just work it up with your thumb there. And then we'll just use the nozzle of the applicator flask just to section off and make sure you get plenty of colour on. Now, the trick that makes the difference of going to the hairdressing salon and doing your colour yourself at home is just the application. The quality of the products are incredibly similar, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's more about the application. The beauty of the hairdresser is he knows exactly how much to put on, and the trick is with applying colour is make sure you apply it incredibly well and put plenty of colour on. And make sure you use all the colour you've got in the bottle. Now, obviously, we're only doing this top section here, but if you were doing the whole head of hair, you'd make sure you just covered the whole head of hair. And you'd start at the root area like this and then just gradually work out towards the ends. And you can use a comb every so often just to make sure you're combing the colour through and that it goes everywhere. Because obviously if you apply it patchy, it's going to come out patchy. The result, like I say, we're expecting here is something that's going to be quite subtle, generally because of the depth of her hair. Now, when I'm talking about depth, I'm always talking about lightness and darkness. So when we talk about the depth of somebody's hair, we're talking about whether it's very, very light or very, very dark. In this case, the depth of the hair is very, very dark. And when I'm talking about tone, I'm talking about the colour that we actually use. And in this case, the tone we're using is a true red colour. Now the other option here with Charlotte's hair is to use something like a permanent colour. Now the difference with permanent colour is that you can actually lighten hair with it. You can't do this with any of the semi-permanent colours, you can only add tone with them. Now with permanent colour, not only can you lighten hair, but you can cover 100% grey hair. So if you've got grey hair and you want rid of it completely, permanent colour is your only option. Now permanent colour can also lighten hair, as I said, and you can lighten up to about 3 shades of lift with it. So in this case, the case of Charlotte's hair, we can lighten it from this depth up to probably kind of a medium brown colour. Or with my hair, for instance, you could use permanent colour and lighten it up to very, very blonde. The trick is to know what your starting block is. And if you know where you're starting from hair colour wise, then you know where you can end up. And finally, the last type of colouring product you can get is a bleach. Now bleaches are designed just to lighten hair, they don't add any colour. The colour that you see after you've bleached your hair is your own colour that's been exposed through the bleaching process. So what you tend to find is when you apply a bleach to hair, and if we take Charlotte's hair for an example, is that it exposes certain tones in the hair. If we applied some bleach to her hair and left it for 20 minutes, the first colour it would turn is orange. And that's because there's an enormous amount of red in very, very dark hair. And there's also an enormous amount of yellow. And red and yellow obviously make orange. Now after it's been on for about 20 to 30 minutes, the hair would start to stop being orange and turn more to a yellowy colour. These are all the yellow pigments that are then being exposed. Now after that, it would then turn to a very pale yellow colour, and at that point, you'd want to stop the bleaching process, because it can't lighten the hair any more than that. What you would then want to do after that, if you wanted to get away from the yellow colour, is apply some kind of temporary colour to tone that yellow to make it look a slightly different shade. So if you want it a very silvery white colour, you need to use a temporary colour that would have that silvery white tone to it. Now if you're a bit unsure about bleaching your hair or colouring it with permanent colour or high lift tint, then the trick is just to go and speak to a hairdresser, and I'm sure they'll point you in the right direction. So there's Charlotte's hair pretty much finished, I think. All the colour's been applied. We're going to leave that to develop for about 30 minutes. Then we're going to rinse it off, give it a very light shampoo, and then we're going to give the hair a nice little condition. And then we're going to be able to see, obviously, the colour. Now remember, we're not expecting a bright blood red kind of colour on top here. It's going to be quite subtle due to the colour of her hair to start with.